Aaron, apaga las velas del pastel de cumpleaños. Aaron las apaga. Much shorter, right? Because las velas del pastel de cumpleaños means birthday cake candles. So you have to replace the entire phrase with las. ¡Qué bien! Vale, pienso que entiendes los objetos directos. Ahora pasamos a los objetos indirectos. Indirect objects are the recipients of direct objects. So let's look at our very first sentence again. Juan da el pastel a Jaime. We already know the objeto directo es el pastel because we asked the question, what? To find the objeto indirecto, just ask the question, to whom? Juan da el pastel to whom? A Jaime. So Jaime is our indirect object since he is the one receiving the cake. You can also tell who the indirect object is going to be because it will have a or para in front of the noun. A Jaime, or el pastel es para Jaime. The cake is for Jamie. Now, remember how I said Juan lo da a Jaime was not exactly correct? That's because whenever there is an indirect object, you have to include an indirect object pronoun. Always. So let's go over los pronombres de objetos indirectos. Of course, there's one for each person, singular and plural, but there are no gender differences here. And the pronouns for indirect objects are the same for the first and second person, so you already know those. Me, to or for me, and the phrase you'll be replacing with me will be a mí or para mí. When me is the indirect object, you don't use a yo, but me, a mí. In the second person, you'll use te, to or for you. The same goes for when you use you as an indirect object. You won't use tú, but rather ti, a ti, or para ti. You'll use nos, to or for us. You'll see just a regular a nosotros or para nosotros here. For the second person plural, if you're in España, you'll use os, to or for you plural. And you'll just be replacing a vosotros or para vosotros. Then you only have to add two more. Le for third person singular, meaning to or for him, to or for her, or to or for it. A él, a ella, or a, and then any noun. And then les for third person plural, meaning to or for you plural, or to or for them. A o para ellos, a o para ellas, or a o para, then any plural noun. So, in our sentence, Juan lo da a Jaime, we know we need to add the indirect object pronoun for a Jaime somewhere in this sentence. But first, do you know which indirect object pronoun we're going to use that means to or for him? Le. So let's put it in the sentence. Juan lo da a Jaime le. Now, that sounds a little weird, doesn't it? That's because le isn't in the right place. Indirect object pronouns always go in front of the verb. But when there's already a direct object pronoun in front of the verb, then the indirect object pronoun goes in front of that. Juan le lo da a Jaime. Still sounds a little weird to me. Try to say that 3 times fast and you might tie your tongue in a knot. So Spanish speakers, being the smarties they are, came up with a great idea. If you have both an indirect and direct object pronoun next to each other, and they both start with the letter L, then you change that first L to an S. Juan se lo da a Jaime. And if you want to shorten it up even more, just take off a Jaime. Juan se lo da. Remember how I said that when there's an indirect object, there must always be an indirect object pronoun? I hope so. This is true here. Something to note though is that while you have to have the indirect object pronoun, you don't necessarily have to have the indirect object phrase. If you already knew that we were talking about giving something to Jamie, then you wouldn't keep saying his name over and over. You would just say to him, le, or in this case, se. Juan se lo da. Now, that sounds much better, and so short too. Let's try a few together using other indirect object pronouns. If I wanted to say that Juan gives me the cake instead of Jaime, which indirect object pronoun would I use to say to me? Me. Juan me da el pastel. What about Juan gives a puppy to you? Te. Juan te da un perrito. What about Juan gives some coffee mugs to us? Nos. Juan nos da unas tazas de café. And finalmente, Juan gives some earrings to them. Les. Juan les da unos aretes. Think you're getting the hang of this? Maybe try a few using both direct and indirect object pronouns. I'll start you off slowly, and then we'll speed up. Ready? Ana da un reloj a mí. First, what is the direct object? What is Ana giving? Un reloj. And the indirect object phrase? To whom is Ana giving this reloj? A mí. Great. Now, the singular masculine direct object pronoun for un reloj? Lo. And the indirect object pronoun for a mí? Me. Now, just put them in the right order. Subject, Ana. Indirect object pronoun, me. Direct object pronoun, lo, and then the verb, da. Ana me lo da. Try these on your own. I'll show you the direct and indirect object phrases, so all you have to do is replace them with the pronouns and put them in the right order. Yo tiro el confeti a ti. Yo te lo tiro. And you can make it even shorter by taking off the yo. Since tiro ends in o, you already know who the subject is. Te lo tiro. Tenemos una barbacoa para ti. Te la tenemos. Now, try one where both pronouns start with L. Ricardo da el collar a Lisa. Ricardo se lo da. Perfecto! Es todo para hoy. You can practice everything you learned in this lesson at SpanishDict.com/learn. There you'll find all of the picture flashcards for the vocabulary in this lesson, as well as the games, quizzes, the forum, and video chat. If you enroll in the course, you can keep track of your points and compare yourself to others on the leaders board. And if you have any questions about direct object pronouns, indirect object pronouns, or using both types of pronouns together in the same sentences, make sure you check out the reference section at SpanishDict.com/reference. There you'll find all kinds of information that I'm sure you'll love to learn. Until next time, hasta luego y adiós.